Hi everybody, welcome back to session 2 of our online Chazown experience. I hope that you're not too overwhelmed after watching that video from Pastor Craig. This is a big week. This week we're exploring our past experiences and asking God to show us what meaning He had in all these experiences that we've had through our lives, the good and the bad. It is one of the most challenging weeks by far, and I hope that you will take the time to set aside and really devote time to doing this, where you can brainstorm, where you can think, where you can process all these things that Craig's asking us to look at. So if you're following along with us and you watched, if you've been with us through session 1, I hope that you have picked up a copy of Chazown and are reading along with us. Last week we read the introduction and read the chapters on our past experiences in preparation for this week. So I hope that you're enjoying that and that it's helping as a reference and hopefully makes things easier going forward. So this week we are doing exactly what Pastor Craig showed us, and we're going to create a personal timeline. I did want to share mine with you briefly. I'm not going to read you my timeline, but it is doable and it is possible. There are step-by-step instructions that hopefully you just watched showing you how to create this timeline. You do need 4 colors of sticky notes. If you don't have yellow, pink, blue, and purple, that's okay, as long as you know what the colors mean. You're going to start with one color. We chose to start with yellow. That's going to list out, and you're just going to list out and brainstorm all your past events, circumstances, key people in your life. I, of course, have my parents listed, my best friends, my husband, my children, teachers who were influential in my life, things like that. You're going to start there. Also, you're going to list out events, things that you went through. For example, I have getting married, my wedding, things like that. Teaching school, that's kind of a circumstance. And you're just going to start to list all the important things about your life. This is when you really want to set that time aside and just brainstorm and let your mind flow and just write as many things as you can think of. And then what you're going to do is you're going to begin to put those things in order. So you're going to start a chronological timeline and start to just put them all in order, to look at your life in one big long picture. And then you're going to begin to take those things that were painful and change them from yellow to a different color. We chose pink, but change those painful experiences to a different color so that they stick out, so that you can see the hard things that you've been through. And we're going to ask God to kind of show us what He was meaning for us to experience through that. Then, after you have this just huge array of everything in order, you're going to begin to put your life into chapters. You're going to start to see little sections, little groups, and you're going to name those chapters with a sticky note at the top. Some of my little chapters, like I have this one here, is called Searching for Me, and this was like high school, and as I was going through high school and middle school and just those struggles that I had there and the things that I went through there. This one was called Love. This was really my college years when I fell head over heels for my wonderful husband, and we were just like in eternal bliss. And so that was kind of the love phase of my life. And then I have this little one here called American Life, when I was teaching school and he was working, and my daughter was born and things like that. And we had excessive debt. That's what this pink one here is. We had a lot of credit card debt. So that was one of the things that we were struggling with. And then I have like a leading and growing section. And so you're just going to start to see little sections, chapters of your life. And so you're going to label those and name them, call them what they are, as Craig says. And the last thing you're going to do is you're going to go through and look at those events, circumstances, and people in your life and begin to label the turning points. Which events really, or circumstances really made you begin to see things differently, or made you begin to act in a different way, and were acted as turning points in your life. Label all those with a TP up in the corner of that sticky note. The last thing you're going to do is at the bottom in purple or a different color sticky note, you're going to create a theme for each certain chapter. Another way to describe it is, if God were trying to show you something through that circumstance, what if you can look back now and see a lesson? What was He trying to teach you? Do you see it now? And maybe that's the theme that you could have for that area of your life. So my goal for you by the end of this week is that you have a timeline very similar to this. If your participant guide you printed off online. So this is one that was in a binder. It was bound together. So that's why it folds out like this. But feel free to use poster board to create your timeline, or just a blank wall in your office, or anything that you can use to really be able to brainstorm and put things in order and create themes and begin to see those chapters and sections of your life. This really is the hardest part, I think. It's hard for some of us to go back and look at the things we've been through in the past, but it's also very enlightening. I know in our small group that we saw so many women, after looking at this and crying and sharing it with other women, look and say, I see now what he was doing. I can see now why I needed to go through this experience. So I hope that that's the same experience that you have. And it's different when we're not in person and there's not someone to share with. But if you have a friend that's going through this experience with you, share with them your timeline. It's an important part. Sometimes through speaking it out loud, you begin to see things that you didn't see before. So consider doing that, or your spouse or a friend, even if they're not going through the experience. Consider finding someone to share this timeline with that you trust, that you can be open and real with, that you can share this with, and hopefully it might even spark another vision that you can see that God had for you that you maybe didn't see when it was just on paper. So that's kind of what this week is. I hope that you will prayerfully seek this week and ask God to show you things. I did want to point something out. Craig says in the book, talking about past experiences, he says, well, where did it go? I had it marked. Here it is. In the beginning of chapter 17, which is called Eyes to See, he says, ask God to give you eyes to see the value in your experiences. Meaning and purpose have always been there, and God can help you see what you've never seen before. So that's really my prayer for you, is that you'll begin to see things you never saw before through going through this experience, through creating your personal timeline. Know that it's hard. Know that the devil's going to try to keep you from doing it, because there is truth in it. So make it a priority to set this time aside and make this happen this week. Create your timeline. Seek God. Ask him to show you things you've never seen, and you will be truly amazed at what he's going to show you. I'm so glad you're joining us for this experience. I can't wait for next week. I can't wait for every week, because this is so much fun. And I can say it's fun because I've already done it. You're doing the hard part this week, but I promise you in the end it's fun. You're going to see, you're going to see God's vision, and I can't wait for it all to come together. This is just one part. Next week we're going to be looking at our core values and our spiritual gifts. So in preparation for next week, if you're following along in the book, you're going to want to read pages 26 through 51, which are also, if my best friend has it on her Kindle, so she's emailed me and she said, I don't know what pages are. I don't have page numbers. I need chapters. So that's chapters 6 through 14 if you're reading with us electronically. Chapters 6 through 14, or pages 26 through 51, and that will help you prepare for next week as we look at our core values and our spiritual gifts. The other thing you'll need to do before next week is go to chazown.com/spiritual gifts and take the spiritual gifts test. It's a short test. It'll ask you to answer a lot of questions. Answer them quickly and honestly with your first reaction, what you first feel. And you're going to find what your spiritual gifts are. And it's a fun little test to take. Have your spouse or friend take it with you too to see what their spiritual gifts are. It's a lot of fun. But you'll want to have the results from your spiritual gifts test before we begin session 3 next week. I pray that you guys have a wonderful week, and that God shows you what he really meant for you to see through all your past experiences this week. Remember, you've got to get it done. I know that you can do it. It is hard. It's the hardest thing you'll have to do through this experience, but you will begin to see so much truth in your past. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week for session 3 over spiritual gifts and core values. See you soon.